Hi guys, you're welcome to my channel. So today we want to look at the fundamental of brand identity design. When it comes to you creating a brand identity design as a brand identity designer or a logo designer that wants to design an identity system for a brand, there are a couple of things you need to understand, especially the fundamentals. When we talk about the fundamentals, we talk about the brand basic. We talk about the brand basic. We talk about the brand element. We talk about the brand ideal, and we talk about brand dynamics. Now, a better understanding of these particular four things will make you understand the basic. And I want to tell you categorically that these four things that I have here, that is the brand basic, the brand element, the brand ideal, and the brand dynamics, they have nothing to do with the push of pixels. That is, you need to understand all of these before you then open any software on your laptop. So we are going to be starting with brand basic. And under brand basic, we have up to 12 category of things that we need to understand. But we are going to look at it in this manner. So I'm going to substitute or break all this brand basic into 4 categories. And we're going to be talking about the first category right now. And the first category of this brand basic include what we refer to as branding, and brand identity. A better understanding of these 3 things will let you communicate well with your clients and let you produce what exactly they need. Because oftentimes, clients does not really understand what it takes to own a brand. There is a difference between you having a brand and you owning a brand. If you own a brand, you have high chance of being selected out of multiple or countless number of competitors. Am I making sense now? And branding is not logo. Oftentimes, when clients comes to meet you that they want to design a logo, or they just come to meet you that they want to brand, and you think branding is for you to create what? Color, create a logo. No, it's part of it, but it's not it. Am I making sense now? Of course, brand identity, this system, we actually don't understand the functions of it and what exactly wants to achieve with the use of the brand identity system. So those are the things we want to clear in this particular class. And once we are done with that, we'll move to the next 3 category that we need to understand under the brand basic. And with that, we move down to the brand element. Now, brand element is quite important as well. And of course, I'm going to be discussing that when we get there. So let's get started with what we refer to as brand. Now, when somebody tells you that I have a brand or I own a brand, what does that simply mean? Brand. Now, people always think that when they start something, probably they start a company or they want to sell a product or services, they think by doing that, they own a brand. They don't own a brand by doing that. What they did is that they have a brand. Because by default, once you start something, you automatically have a brand. If I say, I want to start teaching now, or if I tell you that I'm a teacher, if I tell you this immediately, that I am a teacher, or I start an academy where I teach, immediately I start this, there is already a brand. And that is why you need to understand what it simply means so that you will know when you own it and when you have it. So let's take, for instance, when they give birth to you. Let's leave teacher alone. When you're giving birth to, people come into the room and they look into your eye and they be like, oh, this boy resembles our mother. This boy resembles our father. No, he actually resembles his mother's sister or his mother's brother. Am I making sense now? That is what you having a brand. Am I making sense now? They've started branding you already. They already like build up a certain opinion about you before you even like tell them the actual person you look like. Everybody already have their opinion in mind that this is who you look like, and it's quite different. And that's the same reason why, if I ask you right now as we speak, that drop in the comment section the definition of a brand. So definitely, if you read somebody else's comment, it's going to be different from your comment. Why? Because there are countless number of what definition for brand, but what exactly it is. So when you say brand, according to the author of Brand Gap, it says brand is what people's gut feelings. So the people gut feelings is what we refer to as a brand. Whatever people thought about you, your product or your services is what we refer to as a brand. So another author says that when you say brand, you are talking about what people say about you when you are not there. That is, in the room where you are present, or sorry, in the room where you are absent, what they said about you is your brand. Am I making sense now? And at the same time, another author says it is what people say, it is not what you say. Do you understand that now? So what people say is a brand, not what you say. So for you now to own a brand as an individual or a company or a product or services, then whatever you want them to say, you will have large numbers of people saying it. So what do I mean by that is that before you can say that you own a brand, that simply means that a large numbers of people, they are having similar opinion about what you do. Large number of people have similar opinion about your product or about your services. Large numbers of people have similar opinion about what you yourself. Am I making sense? So that's when you can say, oh, you own a brand. Do you understand where I'm coming from? And that is when the brand is successful. Why is it important to own a brand? It's quite important to own a brand because it allows you to get selected out of multiple numbers of people. Do you understand where I'm coming from? You have a lot of number of people doing the same thing that you are doing. So for you to get selected among them, then you must own a brand. Now, let's look at something now. So I believe you understand what we refer to as what? As brand now, isn't it? And you know why it is important. It is important because it allows people to choose you when you own it. Am I making sense? In another way around, you can say brand, it is what? It is what remove anxiety of selection. Am I making sense? Because if people know you, they have the same opinion about you, and that causes them to choose you. They are not afraid of choosing you. That's why it's important for you to have. Because when you want to try something new, you have to be scared. Like, oh, what am I expecting? So, like some proverbs said, the devil you know is better than the angel that you are expecting. And that's the same thing for brand. Am I making sense now? So when you own a brand, the anxiety of selection, you take it away from people and it makes it easier for them to choose you. Do you get that now? Nice. Now, we said brand is the people what? Gut feeling. Is what people say about you. You cannot control what people will feel about you. Likewise, you cannot control what they are going to say about you. Am I making sense? However, you can manage what they are going to say about you. For you to be able to manage what they are going to say about you, that is the reason why we have the word branding. Branding. So branding simply means what? Management of impression. The impression management. That is what we refer to as branding. So when somebody say, I want to do branding, so what that person actually wants to do is that the person wants to manage the impression of people about his product or services. Do you understand where I'm coming from? So when you want to manage people's impression about product or services, do you think logo only can do it? Do you think beautiful color can do it? Do you think having a nice looking pattern is what is going to do it? No, beautiful design cannot get it done only. Am I making sense now? They are part of what we make it work, but they are not it. Am I making sense now? So the way you talk to people counts. The promise you make to them counts. So there are a couple of things that now go into what? Branding. So the experience they have whenever they encounter your product It counts. Take, for instance, you're a fashion designer and you want to what? Control people's impression. You want to manage their impression. When they come into your store and your store smell nice, you're already sending them what? A form of what? Sense that this is a luxury place. Because of the way they perceive the odor, that caused them to, the fragrance, let me use that word, fragrance, that caused them to stay longer in your brand. The kind of environment the way the environment look, how they feel when they come in, tells how long they are going to stay inside there, and that control the kind of price they are going to hear from you. Do you understand where I'm coming from now? So when you say branding, it is what? The management of impression. So you can influence people about what they are going to think. Am I making sense now? So if you can influence large numbers of people to have similar opinion or the same impression about you, everybody cannot have the same impression about you, obviously. But if you can try to do what? To gain large numbers of people to have what? The same opinion about your brand, then you own what? You own a brand. Do you understand where I'm coming from? And that will be done through what we refer to as what? Branding. I hope you understand that now. So when you say branding, brand is like you bringing what? Name and reputation to what? A product or services. So when you bring together name and reputation to a particular product or services or a person, then that is what? A successful branding. I hope you understand that now. So as a designer that wants to design an identity system for a brand, before you design an identity system that will make them recognize the brand as a as a bad brand easily. Because if you design a very good logo and a very good color that catch eye and the likes, and the brand does not have a good reputation, am I making sense now? So it makes it easy to identify that bad brand. Do you get where I'm coming from now? Now, let's move on now to the next one, which is what? Brand identity. Brand identity. Brand identity. Now, when you say brand identity, what does that simply mean? You see, when we are doing branding, there are a couple of things that goes into it. Some of it is what we experience. It's not what we see that we can touch. Am I making sense now? Like, let's take, for instance, satisfactory. You cannot see it, you cannot touch it. Am I making sense? And it's part of branding. Do you hear where I'm coming from? So the physical part of branding that you can touch, you can see, that is what we refer to as brand identity. You can feel it, you can touch it, you can see it. Are you getting this now? That is brand identity. And that includes what? Color. It includes what? Logo. It includes what? Typography. It includes what? Packaging. Am I making sense now? So that is what we refer to as a brand identity. And I want to believe that you understand the difference between the three now. So when somebody say, I want you to do branding for me, that statement is quite huge. Then you need to understand what the person is saying very well by breaking it down to this place. Am I making sense now? So when somebody say, I own a brand, you need to understand, do you have a brand or you own a brand? Because once you start something, you already have a brand. It's by default. If you start selling coconut plus a brand, you have it, but you don't own it. Am I making sense now? If you start teaching, you already have what? You already have a brand. It's a teaching plus brand. If you as an individual, you are a person plus a brand. Do you understand where I'm coming from now? So, for instance, when I was in school, people usually think I'm a wicked kind of person. Why? Because my face is not friendly. So my face is always appears scary, but that's not me. Are you getting this now? I'm a jovial person who likes to help people, please people. But because of my facial look, a lot of people on campus have that impression that this guy is not a friendly type. Don't go and meet him, especially the girls. Do you get where I'm coming from now? But when the girls to meet me, they see that it's quite something different. And they start telling you what they have said about you in the past. Do you get where I'm coming from? So in order for me to influence people's impression, am I making sense now? That is to manage their impression, then I need to start branding. And how do I do it? So I play with people. I get to talk to you when you don't even want to talk to me. Do you get where I'm coming from? I get to organize free tutorial that people get to what? Come, and then you see me teaching. I lean my hand for you. What do you need? I saw you on campus for the first time. I approach you myself. Do you get where I'm coming from? I tend to move with people instead of moving alone. So that starts giving people other thought of impression, like, oh, this guy is not what we thought, what we think it is. So if you look at what I did then, do you think, do I have a logo? Do I have a color palette? And that is branding. Because that hat enabled me to do what? To manage people's impression. So when they say branding, it goes beyond what you want to create with pixels. And that's why you are a designer, don't make yourself an hero. As a designer, you are not the hero. Your client is the hero, you are the guide. And as a guide, you have to understand what the hero really wants and what the hero is suffering for so that you can guide them the right way. But it's so saddening. We all designers think we are the hero and the client is the guide. And that's the reason why there's thousands of back and forth. They just tell you we want a logo, and you go and create a logo. Thousands of people who comes to meet you don't actually need that logo. But that's a talk for another day. Now, what's the reason for these three things? Brand, branding, and brand identity. These three things they want to lead to something. So B plus B plus B is to what? Lead us to what we refer to as brand positioning. Am I making sense now? Brand what? Position. And what is brand positioning? Subscribe to this page. In our next video, we're going to be talking about this and how important it is to your growth as a business owner. You need to understand it. Brand positioning is different from marketing, but it's a very important thing that you need to understand if you want to grow. Until then, let's keep creating.